because Serie B is it's a wild league and a lot of things go on. So
it's a wild league. Well said. And I'm sure we'll have a lot of. We're gonna laugh a lot about our predictions.
Guaranteed to be wrong. That's just
absolutely 100%.
Cittadella are the only team in Veneto for this season because Vicenza failed to get promoted. Venezia went up to Serie A.
I would be happy with Carrarese and Reggiana being last and second to last. We are going to be touching upon each and every one of the teams on the league, so stay with us, interact with us, and together we're going to be speaking Serie B. Roma! Welcome to another episode of Speaking Serie B. Even right now, today, at least for the beginning of this episode, I've been left to my own device, and we shall have fun like that. So welcome again. We'll start by reading the results of the 32nd round of Serie B League, and then we'll take a look at the standings, and then I'll tell you my impressions about the most recent game of the Eagles from La Spezia, and then by then probably Jake of 𝐏𝐫𝐞 USA, who is currently busy recording one of the episodes for his podcast, will join us, and we'll move smoothly towards the end of this episode at that point. Also because we're going to be live again on our channel, Elia, the Italian guy, with the live of the pre-game of Spezia Cosenza for the playlist for our program Spazio al Prossimo. So it's a busy week, and let's begin. These are the result of the 33rd, not 32, not the 32nd, but the 33rd round. There are so many, got all the programs already on our channel, so I'm a bit confused with all these numbers. So anyhow, but it's a numbers game nevertheless. So let's see, only 5 games, 5 rounds are left to be played. So it all comes down to these last few weeks. Bari-Palermo, that is the first game of Friday, April 11. Bari-Palermo finished 2-1. This was an important game for the playoff spots. We'll talk about it once that we take a look at the standings. And it was an important victory from Bari. Bari is probably the team that drew the most game during this championship. So this was an important home win for I Galletti, as we call them in Italian. And Palermo proved themselves yet again to be unpredictable. They've been doing better lately, but at the same time, they're not that convincing, although they're currently sitting in 7th place with 45 points, just one more point than Bari, sitting in 8th place. The next game, which brings us to the games that played on Saturday, that took place on Saturday, was Salernitana-Südtirol. This was an important victory for Salernitana, since they are still struggling in a very uncomfortable position of the league, but at least give this home victory, gives them some oxygen, also in light of the fact that it comes with a very healthy team, as Südtirol proved themselves to be under the guidance, the guidance of coach Papa Castori. I call him as the nickname from an Italian cartoon. Anyhow, since Castori arrived on the bench of Südtirol, the team has been performing much better, although in the last 5 games, they were only to collect 1 victory, 2 draws, and 2 losses, now sitting in 15th place with 35 points. So they are in the fight. They continue to be in the fight to avoid relegation. They're not smooth sailing towards the end of a relaxing season, but nevertheless, Salernitana really needed this victory, coming from 2 consecutive losses, 1 draw and a victory before that, only 33 points, sitting currently in 18th place. So it was definitely some oxygen, and some oxygen received the Wolves as well, led by Alvini in this draw with Brescia, 1-1. That doesn't really help any of the team. Brescia is in 14th place with 35 points, together with Südtirol, Sampdoria, and Cittadella. We'll hear all about it from Jake once that he is going to join us. and ''𝐏𝐶 still sitting at the last spot of the championship with 27 points with 20 in 20th position. And ''𝐏𝐶 is the next team that will come to La Spezia this Monday, the day after Easter. So it is one of those games that you might think they're easy to predict, but there is no easy game in Serie B. So this draw didn't really help either of the team to get out of that uncomfortable position of the table. But hey, it's not a loss for neither of the teams. Let's take a look at the stats and see how it unfolded. There was an own goal, Aldo Florenzi at the 26th minute. Then Brescia remained in 10 player with the red card for Andrea Cistana, espulsione for Andrea Cistana. And then Massimo Zilli at the 90th plus 3 minutes was able to draw for ''𝐏𝐶. Looking at the stats, ''𝐏𝐶 at least put up a fight. 21 shots, 4 on target, 64% of possession, 445, more than double, I would say, almost. Not exactly, but near almost double the passes. Then Brescia, 82 pass accuracy, 3 yellow cards, 2 for Brescia. So 7 corners. Must have been an interesting game, and ''𝐏𝐶 looks healthier than I thought. So good for them. Continuing on with the results of the 33rd round of the Serie B League. Carrarese Catanzaro, this was another draw. Carrarese proving themselves to be in good shape, especially at home, with Catanzaro that is sitting comfortably in the playoff position, 6th place with 48 points, 3-point lead on Palermo and 2 points behind Juve Stabia. And I didn't see Carrarese being able to stop them, if I remember correctly. I didn't do well with my predictions from the previous episode of Speaking Serie B, but we shall check those later. And then Reggiana loses at home with Pisa, that's extending their gap on Spezia. And this round, finally, Sassuolo can celebrate the promotion in Serie A, in fact, based on the victory of Sassuolo, which we're going to be talking about in a second, and the loss and the draw with Spezia. Good English, Mr. Elia from Florida, writes Luigi De Bartolo. Thank you very much, Luigi, for your support, for being here with us. I am doing my best. Grazie mille per essere qui con noi. Faccio veramente del mio meglio. Luigi writes, Wolves never will die. The Wolves never die, as Antonio Palopoli always says. And Antonio Palopoli and Valentina Mitidieri will be the protagonist of the upcoming live tonight at 8 p.m. CET on our channel for the program Spazio al Prossimo. So carrying on with the results of the 33rd round of Serie B, this is how the 2-0, the 0-2 unfolded for Pisa in Reggiana's home, basically. Lind at the 23rd minute, and then Tramoni at the 44th minute. And then as soon as the second half of the game started, Reggiana found themselves with one player less, just to guarantee that Pisa could take home the victory. Just kidding. And looking at the stats, Reggiana was able to have greater amount of possession, but it doesn't count for much. If you're looking at the shot, 13 for Pisa, 8 for Reggiana, and only 1 on target. So it was almost a training game for Pisa. Only 3 shots on target, though, but they were able to convert 2 of these 3 in goals. So congratulations. And then 3 corners for Reggiana and 2 for Pisa. Not exciting stats. I can't really get much out of it. But carrying on with other results of the 33rd round, Sampdoria, with the new coach on the bench, was finally able to win 1-0 against Cittadella at home. Sibilli was the author of the goal. 10 total shots for Sampdoria, only 5 for Cittadella, none of those on target, and 3 shots on target out of those 10 for Sampdoria. I'm not going too much into depth in the description of this game, because soon Jake will tell us all about it. I'm sure he followed it, so we'll hear his opinion about it. And then we had Modena Sassuolo 1-2-3. This victory allows Sassuolo to regain the Major League presence with 5 rounds with 5 rounds to the end of the championship. So congratulations, they are a team of another league, basically. And unlucky for us from Spezia, we found ourselves to be as good as we are this season, while Sassuolo is playing a whole different game, basically. So if it weren't for the Sassuolo presence in this tournament, in this championship, Pisa and Spezia surely would deserve to gain together the Major League. But unfortunately, one of these teams, most likely Spezia, will be facing the lottery of the playoff. Looking at the results was Domenico Berardi at the 36th minute, who scored the first goal of the match. And then there was the draw by Modena, by Simone Santoro. And immediately after, 4 minutes after, Armand Laurienté, the bomber of Sassuolo, was able to regain the advantage for Sassuolo. And then Luca Moro, ex-Spezia player, in loan from Sassuolo, sealed the victory for the black and green team, or green and black, I don't know, Nero Verdi, so black and green first. But Modena put up a fight, because we see that they had more shots, 13 versus 11, and they had more shots on target, 7 versus 4. They also had more ball possession, so congratulations. I was just checking. All right. And as far as corners, 6 corners for Modena, only 1 for Sassuolo. So yet again, I would say, in light of these stats, that it was Sassuolo better players, more skillful players, that made the difference, in light of the fact that Modena seemed like it dominated the game. Luigi keeps on writing. Thank you very much, Luigi, for your support since I'm here all alone, left to my device, as I said in the opening of this episode. And Luigi writes us, Elia, non c'è più bisogno di esercitare il mio inglese su Bubble. Ci sei tu. Awesome. He writes, Elia, there is no more need to exercise my English with Bubble. I guess it's an app, because you are here. Thank you very much. I'm happy you can find me of support, especially with my very heavy, thick Italian accent, so that can help you in better understand the words I'm using in a foreign language, in light of my limits, let's say. So my limits can become a point of reference and a good base to improve your knowledge as well. I'm happy to help. Carrying on with the results of the 33rd round, we have Cremonese-Juve Stabia, yet again another draw, but it's a good draw, because in light of this draw between Cremonese and Juve Stabia, 1-1, Spezia was able to maintain the gap that keeps, let's say, at bay Cremonese, although we did lose important points to Pisa, that's now leading us by 7 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 66-59, but we'll talk about the standing in a bit. Let's take a look at the stats again. And Cremonese, wow, that was a dominant performance by Cremonese with 13 shots, only 3 by Juve Stabia. But out of these 13 total shots, only 3 on target, which is not far away from the Juve Stabia that has a much better percentage, because 2 shots on target out of the 3. So at least they have much more accuracy, and the possession was 54-46 for Cremonese. As far as passes, 323 for Cremonese and 291 for Juve Stabia. Accuracy, we're almost there. And 7 corners for Cremonese, only 3 for Juve Stabia. So Cremonese probably deserves something more, but being Spezia fan, I'm happy they didn't get more than a draw with Juve Stabia. This was another important game for the playoffs spots, which we're going to take a look at in a second. This leads us to the next game. Yet again, another draw. I kind of feel bad when we make predictions and I keep on saying, it's an X for me, it's an X for me, it's an X for me. But then you see how many X's there are every round of Serie B league. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyhow, Cesena 1, Frosinone 1, Saric at the 45+3, so in the first half of the game. And then in the second half of the second half, Giuseppe Ambrosino at the 71st minute was able to draw for Frosinone, making Cesena's life a bit more difficult, a bit more complicated in maintaining that position maintaining their position in the playoff spots, because now it's Cesena is sitting in the 9th place with 44 points, the same amount of points that Bari, but Bari is sitting in the 8th position for better results, I guess more I don't know why, better, come si dice, la differenza reti, the differences between the goal that they scored and those that they score against them. So anyhow, these are the stats. Shots, 10 shots for Frosinone, 8 for Cremonese, so very close, and 2 shots on target each. Frosinone, more ball possession. And speaking of Frosinone, after Cosenza will visit Spezia, the next away game for Spezia will be in Frosinone, so that is going to be another interesting match. As far as passes, 369 to 443 for Frosinone, leading. Accuracy, we're almost there. And as far as corners, 6 to 5. So at least they had a lot of occasions from the flag. I don't know why. Every time that I'm going back, it brings me back to God knows which round. But anyhow, Cesena Frosinone 1-1, and this leads us to the last result of the 33rd round of Serie B League, Mantova Spezia 2-2, and the stats are not loading because I don't know. But I can tell you what my impressions are. In the first half of the game, Spezia dominated as usually, I might say. And in the second half, after the beautiful goal by Salvatore Esposito, beautifully served by Francesco Pio Esposito, we ended up losing Bertola to a questionable red card. Questionable because we're in Italy, questionable because it's Serie B, but not questionable in light of how soccer is being managed lately. So probably a yellow card would have been enough, because it depends also on the intensity, but I'm not too surprised. Commenting the game live, I was saying that if there was such a fault against a Spezia player, I would have wanted the player committing that fault to get a red card. So since a Spezia player did receive a red card instead, I can't complain that he did. After that point, Spezia basically turned the light off, and here are the stats that I'm going to remove for a second. 31 shots for Mantova, because after remaining with one more player, total dominance by the home team. And so basically, let's do this. Yes, we lost the player. Once that we lost Bertola, we shut down. I don't know if there was drop mentally or physically. Probably there was a mental drop that reflected into a physical drop as well. But the home team then just was able to dominate the remainder of the game. I must add that Mantova was able to score the third goal in the last few minutes of the game, and that goal got disallowed because of offside. But also the first goal of Mantova most likely started from an offside. So the VAR intervening, is that how you say it? I guess so. So the intervention of the VAR and the not so perfect job of the referee allowed the game to at least become of doubtful result, to end with a doubtful result. Now, I don't know how much you've been following our channel, and particularly this program. I tend to have my own perception of things, a bit too conspiracy based, but if they're not disallowing the first goal, and they're then disallowing the third goal, and in both cases it's an offside, and if they are giving a red card immediately, directly, without going by the yellow card earlier to Bertola, and they don't even give a yellow card for even worse faults committed by the Mantova players, well, at least there is some doubt on the way the games are being managed in this, not in this season, but especially in this last part of the season. It is true that Spezia was dominant in the first half of the game, and it did not deserve to win the game, in light of how they perform, of how the team perform after losing Bertola. That's a fact. So it is what it is. Let's move on, and let's take a look now at the standing, which I'm going to share here with you in a second. All right, so Sassuolo, congratulations to Sassuolo. Not only is leading the table with 75 points after 33 games, but basically with 5 games left to play, they've already achieved the promotion and their comeback in the Serie A, so in the Major League. Congratulations to Sassuolo, record a championship, a record championship for them, so congratulations. Following Sassuolo is Pisa, now with 66 points after winning in Reggio Emilia, as we saw earlier. And then in third place is Spezia, the last one to be the first one to be defeated right now, basically, because we are the only team that would not be able to, although we are protagonists of a great championship and we started with very different goals, or at least so they said, to not being able to achieve direct promotion, because let's remember that only the first 2 teams are directly promoted in the Major League, and for the third one to avoid the lottery of the playoffs, the third team would have to create a gap of more than 14 points. So at least 15 points has to be the difference between the third and the fourth team. Now there are 5 games left, so 15 points to be scored, but it's only highly unlikely that with 5 games to go, Spezia will be able to catch up on Pisa and overtake them, or if Spezia will be able to make such a big gap between themselves and Cremonese. It is an exciting end to the game, especially for the playoffs spots and the relegation area, also because you might know that there are different privileges based on which position of the first 8 the team is going to be taking. The teams that are going to be playing the playoff are all those teams between the 3rd and the 8th place, but there is a great difference based on where you're ending the championship. So currently in 4th place is Cremonese, leading Juve Stabia by 3 points, sitting in 5th place with 50 points. Then in 6th place, only 2 points behind with 48 points is Catanzaro. And then in 7th place is Palermo. In 8th place, we find Bari with 44 points, but they are the same amount of points, as I said earlier, that Cesena has. But now Cesena is sitting in 9th position for a better differenza reti. I don't know how to explain that in English. I apologize. This all to say that all these teams can still change position. Thus, they can have different privileges in the playoffs lottery. So it is all up for grab, basically. Even for Modena is sitting in 10th place. Unlikely that they're going to be able to gain a playoff spot, but they're only 3 points away from Cesena and Bari with 15 points left to play for, basically. Anything is possible. Then the first little bit of the first gap, let's say, between the teams that are going to be smooth sailing toward a relaxing end of the championship, although there is no such a thing in Serie B, but they don't have the possibility to achieve a playoff spot, and they don't have to worry too much about the potential relegation. We find in 11th place Carrarese with 38 points, together with Frosinone sitting in 12th place, but with the same amount of points. So allow me to say that for Carrarese, this is a great achievement. So congratulations to them. Newly promoted team. I think no one would have expected Carrarese to perform so well. Thanking again Luigi for the support that he's offering me with all his comments. Let's take a look at what he just wrote. Luigi writes, in my opinion, Spezia has good chances to get the first division, but recently it's winning a little bit. What are the reasons for this low trend? So he's not winning much. That's what you mean. Yeah, well, for sure there has been something has changed. Spezia is not the dominant team that. Allow me to go full screen to answer Luigi's question, which is a great question. Thank you very much, Luigi. I think there are several reasons why Spezia currently is not the team that we saw in the first half of the championship. First of all, we were kind of the surprise this season because last year we definitely underperformed, but no one would have expected such a big spin-off, let's say, from turnaround from the Spezia squad. We started saying that the main goal was to avoid relegation, and then we performed above and beyond every most positive expectations, basically. But I think that we surprised a lot of teams that didn't know how we would have been able, how they would have been able to face us. Now they see that our play style has remained the same throughout the championship. Probably in this most recent game with Mantova was the first time that we saw something different. Probably the strategy is always the same. We play with the wings that try to put as many crosses in the middle as possible. When Salvatore is on the pitch, is great with penalty kicks, and then whatever happens in the area, we'll take it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we just throw the ball in the middle, and then whatever happens, and you create so many opportunities that sooner or later you end up scoring. But when teams like Bari in La Spezia, it ended up 0-0, expect you to play that way, and they defend by keeping the team in their half, they don't create many opportunities to be surprised. Let's remember even Mantova playing Spezia with one man down. As soon as they started to defend, Spezia didn't have that many occasions, because we are only able to convert these opportunities that we create once that the other team is opening up to our attacks. If we find a team that is waiting for us, it's much more difficult. With Mantova, we saw probably for the first time, as I was saying, a different move. The coach, Mr. Luca D'Angelo, positioned Salvatore Esposito behind the two strikers, and sometimes it was Salvatore Esposito that was the first one to go in pressing. So they're probably trying to make some moves in light of the fact that we become too predictable. So first of all, in the beginning we were surprised, and now we're much more predictable because of lack of ideas. Second, probably the injuries are playing a part. With Mantova, Mr. Luca D'Angelo was forced basically to put on the pitch two upcoming players from the youth team in light of the many injuries. Rezza is out, which is the left wing. We have Vignali, which is the backup of the right wing, which is not fit to play. So when Salvatore Elia could not continue playing just because he was too tired, we had to put a new youngster on the pitch. The fact that it took 7 games for Lapadula to find himself and start to score. So there are several reasons. Mainly, I would say, is predictability, and then the physical performance of some players might be dropping. I hope I've been clear and esaustivo enough so that this answers your question, Luigi. Carry on with the analysis, let's say the presentation of the standing. Where were we? We left it at the first team out of the fight for playoffs, which is Carrarese. Although Carrarese has been performing, another team that has performed above expectations, since I would say that Carrarese safety is has been achieved by now, although not mathematically just yet, but they can be more relaxed. Frosinone is one of those teams that currently sit in 12th position with 38 points, that was coming from the Major League, and they were really risking for a very long time this season to be sucked in until the end in the fight to avoid relegation. But at the end, they're proving themselves to be able to move towards a more relaxing end of the season. In 13th place is Mantova with 37 points, a newly promoted team that proves themselves to deserve to maintain the category. Look at these stats. In the last 5 games, 1 draw, 2 victories, 1 loss, and 1 draw. So all in all, 8 victories, 13 draws, and 12 losses. That's not a bad scorecard for a newly promoted team. So congratulations to Mantova that although they might lack individuality, players with a lot of skills, they always play ball. So this is a great example of this is a great example, for any category of how football should be and could be played, regardless of the abilities of the individual players. In 14th place, we find Brescia with 35 points. As I said earlier, together with 35 points, we find 4 teams: Brescia, Südtirol, Sampdoria, and Cittadella. These guys are the teams that are going to be fighting until the end to avoid relegation. I'm sorry for Cittadella. At a certain point, just a few rounds ago, I thought that they were out of the woods. But again, with 3 losses and only 2 draws in the most recent 5 games, they're proving to be a team that's still struggling. And we'll hear more about it from Jake, who's about to join us, looking at the messages that I've been receiving. In 18th place, Salernitana with 33 points. That's been able at least to take over Reggiana, that's now in real trouble. Reggiana sitting in 19th place with 32 points, 4 losses, only 1 draw in the 5 most recent games. And in 20th position are the Wolves, led by Alvini of Cosenza. They are coming to Spezia next. 27 points, 4 points of penalty for Cosenza. Actually, I think there is a hearing coming up this week or the next week, but it's highly unlikely that they will be awarded the 4 points that they subtracted them. And even with those 4 points, they would go to 31 points, which is more oxygen, gives them some more hope to avoid a certain relegation, but still would leave them in the 20th, which is the last spot of this standing. Carry on, let's read this next comment by Luigi. Luigi writes us, a Mantova pochissime squadre sono riuscite a strappare punti quest'anno. Basically, in Mantova, very few teams were able to score points. It has been a difficult away game, a difficult trasferta for anybody. Absolutely, you're right. È un terreno ostico, ne sappiamo qualcosa anche noi, che ad agosto ci abbiamo perso 3-2. It's a very difficult field, basically. We know about it personally, and I think Luigi is referring to the Cosenza team, to the Wolves, that lost 3-2 in Mantova. Indeed. They are a solid team in light of the fact that they're coming up from the 3rd category. So very good team. So let's carry on with our program while Jake should be joining us shortly. And let's do that by pulling up the predictions and compare the predictions we made on the previous episode of Speaking Serie B with the results of the actual round. It's going to take me a second because I'm unprepared. I apologize for that. So I have to open another file, and once that I have it open on the right page, share that with you. But for some reasons, the page is not loading. So bear with me, guys. And again, I apologize. All right. So here we are. Let's increase the size of it. That's what she said. Excuse me. All right. Jake just joined in. We're going to wait for him maybe to link the live to his channel so that you can see, at least from now on, this episode also on his platforms on YouTube. And then we'll welcome him in. So make sure you're linking the live, Jake, if you want to your YouTube channel. I don't know if you can hear me. And I'm going ahead with sharing the screen so that we can see our predictions. All right, so this is the 33rd round. But first, let's welcome our co-host, 𝐏𝐫𝐞 of Città Calcio USA. Jake, welcome.
Oh, here I am. Thank you. Sorry, everyone, for the delay. I apologize, Elia. We were just recording a podcast, so it's we're back. And
welcome.
Yeah, I see you were doing it for about 35 minutes. So thank you for covering me for a while. But
just to bring you up to speed, it's a pleasure. Don't worry. Just to bring you up to speed, we did talk about the Spezia game. I did go through the standing and the results. We were at checking the predictions. So why don't you read what were our prediction and the score so that you can tell us your impressions about the game? I'll just be silent here by the side, and then tell us about what happened in the game, especially between Sampdoria and Cittadella.
Yeah, so Well, I did pretty well in this round. I think I got like 5 points, but it started off not great. Palermo getting or losing in Bari 2-1, and we both get 0 points for that. Salernitana getting a big win. This was a huge win for them, getting a point, and I also get a point. They get a win. I get a point for this, as well as Cosenza drawing against Brescia. This was such a damaging result for Brescia. They were winning 1-0 and then tying in the last minute to a team that's really dead and buried at the bottom of the league. However, this is Spezia's next opponent, and I've been hearing that Cosenza is planning to appeal their 4 points deduction to the TAR court of in Lazio. So this could change up the relegation race, and who knows if the Lupi can make another comeback, but at the moment it seems unlikely. Carrarese Catanzaro, this was a back and forth game, pretty good game in Carrara. 0 points for either of us, but it was finished in a 2-2 draw. Reggiana losing against Pisa 2-0, and once again 0 points for both of us. Sampdoria Cittadella, this was a game very similar to the one against Carrarese last weekend. We knew this was going to be a very tight and scrappy match. Not a lot of chances for either sides. In fact, Cittadella, just with a really bad performance with 0 attempts on target, getting defeated 1-0 against Sampdoria in front of over 25,000 fans at the Marassi. So this is it's kind of worrying at the moment now for Cittadella, just because they cannot score. It's just
we saw the stats, and I highlighted the fact not even one shot on target. What happened?
It's just this team is just che fatica, no? Like a lot of it's just very difficult to score in these days, and it's a bit worrying with 5 games remaining. There's just seems to be something missing, and I don't know if it comes down to playing style or the players. I think a little bit of both. It's a lot of relying on certain episodes, certain moments to score, and we definitely saw it in this game. It was just very disappointing in a way that you're playing against the Sampdoria team that's very desperate. We knew how difficult this was going to be. Losing 1-0 is okay, but just the way it happened, it's not very, I'd say maybe hopeful in the next.
You didn't even put up a fight. No shots, man.
Yeah, and
no shots on target.
Because, you have to. You're playing against 4 of the next 5 opponents are teams in the bottom half, and this next game against Salernitana on Pasquetta, this could be a really season-defining game. So it's definitely worrying, because really I don't see how this team could score in these next 5 games. And after all, if you want to win, you have to score. So it's very difficult at the moment. But anything could happen in this league. So we'll have to see what happens.
Indeed. All right, next game was Modena-Sassuolo.
Modena-Sassuolo, I get a point for predicting. Comfortable win for Sassuolo. They are officially in Serie A, although we kind of knew that for a few weeks now. Cremonese-Juve Stabia, that finished in a 1-1 draw. 0 points for both of us. Cremonese drawing in a playoff preview, possibly, against Juve Stabia. Cesena-Frosinone. Cesena getting a 1-1 draw, keeping them, I believe, outside the playoff spots as it stands at the moment. You get a point for predicting this, Elia, but very interesting.
Finally.
There was whistles at the end for Cesena, Fischi, and it was very interesting because this is a team that came up from Serie G and is currently on the verge of playoffs. They are already safe, and fans are booing them. So it's very interesting situation going on in Cesena.
Indeed.
Maybe due to the way they started the year, but
very ambitious ownership as well, as far as I know. The property of Cesena, they're very, very ambitious. So although they're newly promoted, in the few conversations we had in the pre-game for the first half of the championship and the second half of the championship. In the few chats we had with the journalists from Cesena, they told us that although they're newly promoted, in light of how they've been performing, the playoffs position is their goal. So they're ambitious.
Yeah, exactly. So finally, the game that Elia, I know you are probably heartbroken by, is Mantova Spezia finishing 2-2. I watched this game. I was there. It was early, but not so early kickoff on a Sunday morning here in the United States. Mantova Spezia were 2-0 up. They were in really cruise control, and then the game changer, red card to Bertola. I don't know, Elia, I want to ask you, what did you think of it? Because for me, honestly, I think in slow motion, it looked much worse than it actually was. And I don't know, because the Mantova players, they weren't really protesting the red card. I don't know if, I mean, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think?
I talked about it. And maybe you watched the game, and probably you also joined into our live reactions. I was not surprised. In today's football, the way they rule it these days, is not surprising that it becomes a direct red card. So, and again, if that kind of, in today's football, if that kind of fault was done to a Spezia player, I would want a red card for the defensive player or whoever kicks from behind that way. If the step on foot is always a yellow card, I can see how this could be a direct red. So this is my modest, humble opinion. But there are other issues that I already talked about earlier. The offside of the third goal, right? But probably there was an offside on the first. So it happened. It went how it went down. And Spezia did not deserve to win in light of how they played once that we were one man down. So regardless of the influence or the bad performance of the referee, we didn't deserve to win for how it unfolded in the second half. So let's move on. Let's move on. Welcoming the Wolves in La Spezia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say, kind of from a neutral point of view, Elia, I know you don't like to hear this, but I think this was the game where the second place officially became out of reach for Spezia, because
most likely
I
agree.
I know it's still not over. Pisa still have to play Cremonese this weekend, so it could change things. But 2-0 up against a Mantova team who are fighting for relegation with 10 minutes to go. I know you're playing down a red man, but to not see this out, and really happy that you didn't lose the game, because Mantova did score in the final minutes, and it was overturned by VAR. But, this is a type of game where I think, there's really no coming back, or at least
it needed to be a draw for some reasons. Also, I was talking with some friends. They say that in the English Championship, they might have one VAR intervention per the entire round. We have multiple in Italy per game, both in major and in the second league. So probably we're misusing this tool that is supposed to support the referees. But anyhow, I agree. We probably lost the possibility, although not mathematically. The players say that they still believe it's possible to catch up on Pisa. But I don't think we lost it in this Mantova game. I think the chase to Pisa ended when Spezia was not able to win in Mantova. That was the game when we started to see that Spezia lost his momentum. Earlier, we had a lot of comments by Luigi, who is a supporter for Cosenza, and he asked me why Spezia changed so much between the first half and the second half of the season. And I explained what is the reason. And I don't know how we're going to be looking for the playoffs, because the victory that gave us a lot of morale with Sampdoria was what basically against a dead team that is now revived by the arrival of the new coach. So it wasn't because the Spezia has found new energy. We are not in trouble, but we're not as good as we were in the first half. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, two wins in 9 games for Spezia. That's definitely not form you want to be in if you want to chase the second place.
Right.
Now I think I just don't see how they're going to make up 7 points on Pisa with 5 games to go.
Highly unlikely.
I think that's just too much of an ask. It's just, I think it's definitely all about locking up that 3rd place, because if you get 3rd place, that's still a good advantage going into the playoffs. But
absolutely, that's what should the goal.
At the same time,
that's what the goal should be now. Yeah,
they want to. You need to go into the playoffs with strong, because if you go into the playoffs stumbling, that could definitely lead into it, and you don't want to.
Yeah, you can find teams that are launched into the playoffs, like Palermo,
or even I was going to say Juve Stabia, even though they might have a quote unquote weaker team, they have nothing to lose. They should have never been in this position. So
Jake, I must apologize. We're going to be live again at 8 p.m. We got around with our predictions.
Yes. Apologies.
So we got 10 minutes left, thereabout. This is the score of the 33rd round. You're leading again by 4-1. So you're improving your average, and I am decreasing my average. I'm doing worse and worse with more and more experience. And this is the current standing of our championship, basically. You're leading at 129 points, and I'm following 9 points behind.
We can't see the table.
Sorry, I didn't share it. There you go.
Yes, I was. I got 4 points in the last round.
Indeed,
I have a 9-point gap.
Indeed. So I really gotta get to work here and improve my prediction skills. Let's do that right away by predicting the first round of the first game of round 34. Südtirol Bari. I'm gonna start, if you don't mind, and I'm going to predict X, because Bari draws a lot, and because Südtirol comes from a loss, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a difficult away game for anybody who goes to Bolzano to play with Südtirol. So it's an X for me on this one. You're up.
Yeah, this remember, all games are playing on Pasquetta, so this is the early kickoff in Bolzano. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm also going to say an X, because, actually, I'm going to say a 1. I'll say 1. I think Südtirol will get a narrow victory. It's an early kickoff, so anything could really happen.
All right. Next game is Juve Stabia Sampdoria.
Sampdoria getting a revival from Alberto Ivani. Now, I think this is going to be a much different test, because I think they will be attacked, like the Juve Stabia will attack in this game. Unlike Cittadella, what they had with 0 attempts on target. I think this is going to be a much harder test for Sampdoria. However, I just don't see them going down this year. I just don't see them getting relegated. So this is a tough game, but I think they'll do enough just to get a draw. So I'll say an X.
I agree with you, and it's an X for me as well, simply because yes, Juve Stabia is a better team, but I don't see Sampdoria losing. So yes, they're not going to lose. But I don't think that Sampdoria can win with Juve Stabia and Castellammare di Stabia, but they can't lose. So it's an X. I agree. We'll see what happens. As usual, we find out next Wednesday, usual time. Actually, are we going on next Wednesday?
Yes,
we're going on next Wednesday, the 23rd, because I know that then we'll have to change schedule. Mantova-Catanzaro. This is an interesting game. Catanzaro comes from a draw in Carrara. I did not expect Catanzaro not to win in Carrara, since they are so launched in the playoffs, even this season. Also, I'm not going to be shy about predicting X's, because there are so many in each round that I'm just going to go for it. So, Mantova at home, we saw how difficult it is to beat them. They love ball possession. Catanzaro plays as well. I'm confident that Catanzaro could get the most out of them, but even Spezia could have. So, I really don't know what to predict, but Mantova is not going to win this game. If I have to pick one of the three, I'm sure that Mantova, I would say, is not able to win against a better team. Catanzaro, I assume, is a better team on paper. So I'm going to predict my 3rd consecutive X.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. I'm really liking how Mantova is looking going into the final 5 games, I think they're in a really good state. Unlike other teams like maybe Reggiana or even Cittadella. Mantova winning those 2 direct clashes and then getting a draw. Probably should have won against Spezia, but the VAR called it back. Against Catanzaro, just they love a draw, but I think I'm gonna say 1 again. I think Mantova will have enough to win.
All right, next game is yours, Cittadella Salernitana.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, I don't know where the goals are going to come from. I mean, this really has a 0-0 written all over it. But just given how desperate the situation is for Cittadella, just how much they're feeling pressure. The tickets are €1, by the way. So they're offering.
They really want to draw anybody.
They're really trying to pack out the Tombolato for this important game. So I don't know. Maybe call me this reverse psychology, but I think Salernitana will get the victory too.
All right. So probably I'm not gonna guess some of the X's that I predicted earlier. Cittadella really needs the victory here. They're playing at home. Salernitana is probably in light of the fact that they're sitting down there.
You wrote an X for me instead of a 2.
Sorry. I apologize.
You're good.
Yeah, because I was thinking to predict another X myself again, so I'm all over the place. I don't know. Cittadella is not doing well. Is doing better away than at home, right?
Yeah, but the issue is they can't score. It's so hard to.
Okay, it's a 2. It's a 2. I'm sorry. Hopefully, I'll bring you luck just because I'm gonna bet against you. So
complimenti.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sassuolo-Frosinone. Sassuolo is not going to give a damn about any more games. They're already up there. So maybe they want to win to celebrate. But Frosinone is with 38 points together with Carrarese at this point. If I'm not mistaken, 11 and 12th place. Frosinone is 38 points in 12th place. X.
Yeah, well, Sassuolo did clinch promotion, but they still want to get first place. I think that still has to get something. But I think they are going to take the gas off a little, but I'm still going to go for a 1. I still think Sassuolo will have enough.
Palermo Carrarese, you're up.
Ooh, I think this is another 1 for me. I think Carrarese. I like what they're doing, and I think they will do enough to stay up. But just given they're playing in Palermo against the Palermo side that really needs the victory to keep themselves in the playoff chase, I think they'll get it. So it's another 1.
All right. I agree. Carrarese already is performing above and beyond any expectations, I guess. And I did not expect them to draw with Catanzaro and Roma, as I said earlier. So I see Palermo winning this one because now they are, they're tasting the blood in getting a good spot in the playoffs position. So Palermo has to win at home with such an approachable opponent. Brescia-Reggiana. This is an interesting game. Brescia threw away the victory with Cosenza, as you highlighted earlier, and Reggiana lost at home with Pisa 0-2, finding now themselves in the second to last position in front of Cosenza and now behind Salernitana. So Reggiana is facing relegation now more than ever before in this championship. And Brescia is not doing that much better because he's sitting in 14th place, but with 35 points, just like Südtirol, Sampdoria, and Cittadella. They're coming from a draw. They lost 2 games, won 1, and draw another in the last 5. So they are in better shape for sure than Reggiana. They're playing at home. I'm going to predict a 1 just because I think that this is the most likely outcome, but I would be, at this point, really sorry for Reggiana, although if in our opening intro I said that I would be happy with Reggiana being relegated, but not really, because there is a good rivalry. So you're up.
These are Cittadella's next 2 opponents, Reggiana coming on the next Friday, and then Brescia on May 1st. I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm going to say an X because I have no clue. This could go really either way, and I'm really being real for that.
I agree. Spezia Cosenza, you're up.
Okay. Spezia now that they're far back. I don't know. I'm gonna say screw it, and I'll say a 2. I'm gonna say Cosenza.
Surprise prediction here. Nice. I like it. You're bold. Yeah. Maybe you're right. I'm eager to see what's going to happen. Well, I'm going to predict a one. We are, 𝐏𝐫𝐬𝐬𝐭-𝑑𝐨𝐮𝐧𝐝 is in real trouble. Albini has a lot to prove. We need to win. And if we don't win with 𝐏𝐶𝐬𝐬𝐭-𝑑𝐨𝐮𝐧𝐝, we are going to be in serious trouble. So it's a one for me, but it's not an easy game. It's not an easy, predictable game. Modena, Cesena. Modena is right there. I mean, if Modena wins this one at home, can actually have some serious claim to a playoff spot. So this is going to be an interesting game that could actually end up in a draw. But what did 𝐏𝐶𝐬𝐬𝐭-𝑑𝐨𝐮𝐧𝐝 do in the most... What did Cesena do in the most recent game?
But this is a really important one for the...
At home with Frosinone. They've been booed, so they're not going to win. No. Modena won. Let's move on. Boom.
I'll say an X for this, just because Modena is just such a tricky team to play against.
I agree, though. You're right. Yeah, I'm not going to change mine, but yeah, it's an X most likely. Okay, Pisa-Cremonese, you're up. This is an interesting game.
This is. Well, if Spezia wants any chance of getting the second, they got to win against Cosenza, and they got to hope Cremonese win. But I don't see that happening. I think Pisa will win and certainly solidify themselves in Serie A next season. So it's another one for me.
All right, it's another one for you, and it's another X for me. And if you want to know how well we did, we do invite you to join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. CET time, and we'll find out how well we did. Hopefully, I'll do better than I did last week, because in the last 2 weeks, I probably made like 2 or 3 points altogether, and you're really escaping with a 9-point lead. Congratulations, Jake. Yeah, right. Maybe I'm doomed because I'm from Spezia. Anyhow, thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday, and we will be speaking Serie B.